How's it going? Welcome to the first episode of Wednesday Warriors. My name is Joey Galvez, and I'm here for the first time ever with my co-host, Ambrosia. How's it going?
Hello, I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great, and as you guys can see, we have guests in the house, and they are right here. They are Jerry Green and Wayne Hall. How's it going, guys?
Hey,
good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. So, first of all, I want to talk to you guys a little bit. This is pretty freaking cool. I've been excited to kind of get you guys together and talk about some really cool geeky stuff. And I think this kind of group right here that we have here of podcasters, comic book podcasters, has some amazing insight into what we're going to talk about this today. But before we get into everything, I wanted to give a quick little plug to one of our sponsors. Today they have a really great sale going on, guys. If you guys want to head over to scoutcomics.com, they have a 24-hour flash sale going on right now, 50% off select items. That's even it's graded books, even trade paperbacks and comics, floppies, and anything. All you guys want to do, 50% off, and save some stuff in your cart if you can't get it all, because you guys will still be able to get a 10% off discount at checkout tomorrow, because you can't use the conjunction of the other one. But at checkout, use the word geek, that's GEEK, at checkout, and you will be able to get 10% off. And now it's out of the way, guys, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what you guys have done over the weekend. Ambrosia, what did you do over the weekend first before we talk to our guests?
I really wish I had like some really cool I went camping story or something. But unfortunately, like, this is my busy season for teaching. So my weekend was filled with grading and writing IEPs and trying to get all of my ducks in a row, and reading comics, obviously. But besides that, I was pretty low key of doing, as Wayne said, real world stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, what about you?
Me, I actually went camping. We went camping, and we had a blast. We went out to the lake and into the pines. Yes, Arizona has pines if you just go a little bit north. So it's amazing. It was a whole lot of fun. Jerry, what did you do over the weekend?
Over this weekend, I made a short film, and I submitted it to a couple film festivals.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you share with us what that film was about? Or
you bet. It's called On Consignment, and it's about a woman who puts on an enchanted piece of clothing, and it kind of inspires her to save the life of another woman.
Oh, so cool.
It's 5 minutes and 9 seconds long. It was done. I don't know. You've heard of course, Joe Bob Briggs, who does on Shudder. He does a horror hosted show, and he said, okay, well, he's doing this film festival in the Mahoning Drive-In in Layton, Pennsylvania, Friday, July 16th. And he said, okay, it's March 1st. If you can get me your movie by May 1st, enter it into this festival. So I figured, let's try it. So I did it. So it was a lot of fun.
Oh,
that's
so
exciting.
Cool.
Congratulations. Is this your first short film that you've ever made, or have you done other work?
The first one that I made on my own.
Wow.
I worked on other people's films. This is going back a dozen years or so. I worked on some NYU student films for folks. I worked on a couple of shorts. I co-produced a short that got into the LA Short Film Festival in like 2008 or something like that. So, so it's been a long time though, but it was a heck of a lot of fun, and I did the music to it too. So that was awesome. That was a blast.
That's awesome.
Cool. Thank you. That's pretty cool. And Wayne, what did you do? Do you have anything?
Well, I do what I do every weekend, Pinky. I tried to take over the podcasting world. I always usually Fridays or Saturdays when I put my podcast together is when I go do the interviews and get them all together, and then I have to start thinking about what am I going to do next as I was saying, I live in the future. I don't live in the present. I had the two podcasts. I do the one podcast, which is Major Spoilers, which is Wayne's Comics Podcast, which is general. And the other one I do is Scout Comics Podcast, which is called Scout Trailblazers. And I'm always wondering, who am I going to talk to next? Because it's both of them are interview ones. So I'm always on Friday or Saturday building my one that's going to go up Sunday morning, and it goes Sunday morning anywhere between 9 and 11. And then I'm setting up the ones for the following week so I can do that. So that's pretty much what I did in the weekend. I also write my column, which is called Comics Portal, which is about the comics industry. This week was about Monsters by Barry Windsor Smith. Because he said it took 2 decades to put that book together. And my title of my column was it worth the wait? And I always talked about like Frank Miller and The Dark Knight and stuff like that. And we waited and waited, and I thought I was never going to see the end of Dark Knight Returns. So I was curious about that. And unfortunately, I haven't read the Barry Windsor Smith book yet, but I promised I would. And we'll maybe talk more about that when it comes. But I'm always interested in the industry. With the pandemic, I haven't really gone out and done as much as I would like to do. I want to go to conventions. That's what I want to do. I want to get out of the house and go talk to convention people. That's what I want to do.
I feel like I need to. You guys have like inspired me to step up my weekend game. So maybe next weekend I'll film a short film, and I don't know. It's going to be more exciting than grading.
Yeah.
And then make a podcast about it.
There you go.
Right.
All right. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit. Have you guys been keeping up on any of the news that has been in obviously news lately? There's a handful of things that I wanted to talk about, but did you guys notice anything over the weekend? Anything big? No.
I didn't notice anything special this past weekend. I'm always interested in to see what's going on in TV and in the comics and how they're related. So I'm watching. There's all these shows and stuff that I wish would come back, and all these excellent comics.
Do you watch any of the CW shows?
I watch them all.
Oh yeah, so you must be excited about Naomi coming out then, right?
I'm curious because that's Brian Michael Bendis, and Brian Michael Bendis has what they used to call phonograph needle disease, and that was because what that means is verbiage by the boatloads. There's word balloons are up there, and they are gray, full of text, and I fear they're going to do that on the television show. I would much rather that it be more action than dialogue, but we'll see. It's going to be. I mean, I like the. I am a big. Anybody who knows me knows that I am huge on strong female leads. I just love that. I know guys. I've known them for decades what they're going to do, but you put a woman in their place, and I immediately don't have any idea what's going to happen. And so I like that. I want to see that.
But did you like the Arrow show?
I love the Arrow show.
Well, and they have what's her name? Ava DuVernay and Jill Blankenship. So Jill has worked on the Arrow show previously, and so she's going to be doing a lot of the writing as well. So hopefully we won't get that verbiage that we get from Bendis sometimes.
That's what I hope, because talking is it's probably great if you're writing novels, but if you are doing a comic-based show, it's going to be a real mess. I don't want talking heads. That's the one thing I fear more than anything. But because his Legion book, I tell you, the word balloons are massive in the Legion book. So I want to see. I like the character. I think she's a great character. A woman of color.
No, when it came out, it was huge, and I know Jerry, you and I talked a little bit about it, or I think this was one of the ones that we kind of discussed. We talked about a lot of books,
a lot, yeah.
But I know you really liked this book when it came out. Am I right?
Me, I didn't.
Somebody else.
Yeah, that wasn't. We talked about it coming
was
out.
Not me.
I think we do.
Maybe
we talked about so many books.
I know all the time.
Man, but this one was pretty cool, and I read an article, and they did like some kind of really cool solicit where it looks just like the very first book, the cover. So it was pretty cool. I've never read it, and I've never been but when I heard it about it, it was really cool. But like everybody else, Bendis is one of those writers. It's like he's either on or he's either off for me. There's a handful of writers that are a lot like that. It's like Tom King, he's either on for me or off. And so it's there's no like gray area. So when I heard about it, I was a little reluctant because I was like, so I don't know.
No, and I would agree. But then, like, after looking and realizing who was like directing it and producing it and writing for it, it made me
Mhm.
feel a little more comfortable about it. And then to see what they did with the casting wise, like with Casey Waterfall, who looks so much like Naomi, I
Yeah.
think they're headed in the right direction.
Cool.
But fingers
Awesome.
crossed, you never know.
Awesome. So, speaking about heading in the right direction, have you guys seen the freaking sizzle reel for Phase 4?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
You guys have not seen the sizzle
No.
reel?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh! So it's huge news. It came out like I think yesterday or the day before that. So it's kind of just like this little
Oh, yes.
montage of
I
stuff.
saw
And at
it.
the end, they reveal a whole lot of what's going to be happening in Phase 4, and they give us like these
Oh.
little taste of
Mhm.
each movie and show. So
Sorry, I had no idea it was called a sizzle reel. I don't know cool terminology. I'm just like, hey, someone is like, did you watch that like Avengers thing? And I was like, yeah, I saw
Yeah.
that. It was great. But I didn't know there was an actual term for it. But yes, I watched it. I loved it. I got very emotional and teary eyed. It was so good.
really, oh,
I
that's so cool.
Can I express a concern about it? Is that, when the first Avengers movie came out, I remember seeing people off the street. I was in a grocery store, and the guy that was putting vegetables on there turned to this other guy and said, "I can't wait to go see the Avengers movie because I've never seen these people on the screen before." And I think that luster has worn off. I worry about
Okay.
B to C to D level characters, putting them as the main people on the screen. I'm very concerned about it. In some levels, I was glad that Thor is coming back because he wasn't supposed to originally, and I'm happy they're bringing him back. I think he's a good Thor. I'm just worried about the other ones.
Yeah.
When they're
think the problem
secondary,
is
thirdary.
I think the problem is when they're all big budget ones and going to be big, flying and punching and, exploding stuff and, really expensive. I think that if they use those kinds of characters, they should kind of maybe tell a different kind of story, like, an Elseworlds kind of like a noirish version or something else to add some flexibility to some of these characters.
Yeah.
I wish that they would hand out comic books, like compendiums, to people before the movies came out, because
Yeah.
I think that is like what would bring that luster back. Like when you have going back to like the history of things, like when you have like the history and you first see that character and then like that growth and then you see him in the big screen, I feel like the emotions are completely different than going in with these high expectations. And having those more like C-list characters, it's different because everyone knows, not everyone, but for the most part, people know who Captain America was before the Avengers. And so I don't know. We'll see, but I'm hopeful. Maybe.
We've touched on something I've always wished that comic shops would put out tables and sell books at the theaters that are showing these movies.
Yeah.
If people are
Cool,
going, they're interested in those characters, sell those books there.
Yeah. You got people waiting online for hours.
I
Yeah.
don't understand why they don't do that.
I have an answer kind of for that. I
Okay.
was talking to some of the guys at my local comic book store, and when the show Invincible came out, they had like shelves full of the books and the compendiums and everything. And I was like, this is such a great idea. Like people are over at the comic book stores and they're looking for truth by what is it? When Isaiah Bradley becomes Captain America because of the Falcon and Winter Soldier. So they're looking for those stories, and they're not there because apparently in like the big two, Marvel and DC, like their comic book and like the MCU are like two very separate entities, and the MCU and like the cinematic universe doesn't give like the comic book people like a heads up, like this is going to be big to start getting production rolling. So they don't have them in time, which I think is such a huge like company fail, because like that is such a great way to like two birds, one stone type thing. Like that would bring comic book sales up so much if they communicated that more.
Like
and
it's an email.
Yeah.
Like an attachment to the script. Write this.
Let's start production. Yeah.
Because with Invincible, like for example, a lot of the stores that I've been to have been selling, they produce special books just to sell in conjunction with the release of the animated series.
Yeah.
And so to me, I mean, I've seen them for weeks. And so I don't understand why theaters can't have that as well. I mean, you know, if you're going to see, and of course, right now, of course, the pandemic, that's all throwing everything up in the air. But to me, when that time comes, when Black Widow comes out, we should have a Black Widow bunch of books being sold out there.
Yeah, we should have her trade backs right there, ready to go.
Exactly.
Well,
so that's my thing.
The thing that hit me the most and realized how far and in between like generations were was because I teach middle school, and it was like right after like Avengers Endgame came out, and I have my comic books set out or I have comic books for my students to read, and one of them saw like an Avengers one, and they're like, "How cool! They made a comic book about the people in the
movie." Dude,
and that would be a wonderful way to connect that kind of audience with the comic book world, and we have a generation that has no idea that these came from comic books.
Yeah, well, even the Star Wars, when Star Wars came out, they had a comic book series that went along with it.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Star Wars, did you guys see what they kind of teased a little bit? Everybody knows about this one, right? They talked about the hotel, but the lightsaber. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I'm interested in it because I'm going to be curious to see, because that was one of the things I always hated was those, you turn on the little light in the lightsaber and you could see it all the time, you know, until you turned the light on, it didn't look like a lightsaber. It looked like a dull lightsaber to me. And so I was always like, when are they going to actually do something that looks real? And I'm still not going to be convinced until I see it in real life. I want to see this thing. Right. I believe that they think they've got it down, and that's great, but I want to see it. I want to make sure it lives up to the hype.
When I seen it, it's like, you know, it's those fast food commercials, right? How it looks all nice and plump and delicious and everything, and you're like, "Ooh, I'm gonna go good," and you get there and it's all flat and crusty. You're like, "Oh, yeah, that's not what it looked like on TV."
When these toys, when the light's off, it's on stun.
Wow. You're mixing genres there at Star Trek and Star Wars.
Oh, you just made all kinds of people mad.
Go for it. I like them both.
Me too. But you can never say that out loud ever because you can't tell people that you like both.
You can't.
Well,
oops.
No, I just started to get into Star Trek. So I've been I'm super behind, and I just started through the Star Trek series, and it's so good.
Which one?
So I'm on Voyager now.
Oh, nice.
Oh, sweet.
And so I'm like, guys, have you watched Star Trek? And they're like, yeah. But so I'm really excited to talk about it. So now I'm scared to be like, do I not talk about it?
This is when we need conventions. Conventions are the greatest time. They'll have discussion panels, and I've often run discussion panels. The greatest thing is to sit there and talk with people about what they've seen and what they think about it. And we used to do Deep Space Nine panels, and we would have a room full of people dying to talk about the show, and it was such a great thing.
One of the coolest experiences I ever had with that was because, like, when you go to Comic Cons, there's such a diverse amount of different people who come in for the cons. We have like manga and, you know, comics and the MCU. But I went to Star Wars Celebration, and it's like a 4-day Comic-Con event, but of just all Star Wars.
Hmm.
And it was the coolest experience ever, because no matter where you were, like in line or anywhere, you could have a conversation with anyone. And it was probably the most like magical experience I've ever had.
Awesome.
Where was that? The Celebration or whatever they call it?
Yeah, Star Wars Celebration. Pre-COVID, they have it once a year, and it varies throughout. So like when I went, it was in Chicago, but like they had the entire cast.
That one was like what, 2019, 2018, 2019, one of those.
2019.
They had. Yep, that was cool.
Yeah, and we were able to like watch the trailer with them for like the first time. It was the coolest thing. So if you like Star Wars, go check out Star Wars Celebration.
So I got a question for you guys, and I don't know if you guys are all Trek fans, but I know it's been an ongoing kind of thing going on. Is it Trekkie or is it Trekker? Trekkie or Trekker?
Depends on who you ask.
It depends on the age of who you ask.
Yeah. A Trekkie used to be somebody who watched the original show. Yeah. A Trekker used to be somebody who watched it after the original show went off the air, but it's been so many years now. I don't think that distinction really holds up any longer, because
and there's so many different ways people explain it too. It's that even the way you explain what a Trekkie and a Trekker is varies from different person.
I've never even heard a Trekker.
They need to go back to the Gorshin episode with the black on one side, white on the other. It's like, come on.
But you're black on the right side. That was a brilliant move of talking about racism even back in the 60s. That was absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant.
Okay. So there's more DC news coming up, and it's more kind of like rumors, and I think it kind of more stemmed out of the Snyder Cut, because we got a little glimpse of a Green Lantern, right? And then there's talks of this HBO series on this Green Lantern HBO series. Now there's even talk and there's rumors that the Green Lantern could still a Green Lantern movie can still be happening even though there's an HBO series. How do you guys feel about them? I don't know. Are they like just giving us too much of a, like, are they giving us Batman and Spider-Man all over again?
I don't have a problem with that, because I'm fine with the CW version of the Flash, and I'm fine with the movie version of the Flash. One of the best things that I ever saw in my life was when the two of them met each other in the Crisis thing on the CW, because that was one of the things that nobody knew was going to happen. I just loved seeing the two Flashes actually talk to each other. And I'm perfectly fine with different versions of the character. As soon as on a comic, if you've ever read them, you come across different versions of the character every time a creative team changes.
Yeah,
it's almost entirely a different character and whole setup. So for me, it's nothing new or different for me. I don't care. I am not married to one version, although I am a Ben Affleck fan. I'll admit it right off the front.
Me too.
The best Batman, and I'm a Batman fan since I was a kid. So, and I was terrified Daredevil was going to do Batman. But what happened is that it's something that you can't predict. I mean, I can't predict how the new guy is going to be when he gets on the Batman. So for me, I'm perfectly fine as long as the story's good and the effects are great and it's engaging. I am going to be there, no matter what it is. I want to see it.
Yeah, well, my first Batman was Adam West, and when you take that lighthearted tone and then go to the gothic weirdness of Tim Burton, and then the later movies, it's all good. And you know what? If I didn't like it, it doesn't take the stuff that I do like away from me.
Yeah,
the DVDs don't disappear. I can still go back to them.
The worst Batman I ever read or saw was on an animated show in which they brought Adam West and the guy who played Robin back. And it was the New Adventures of Batman and Robin. And what it was it had Batmite in it. And Batmite's function was to make sure that the show didn't end in 10 minutes. He always messed up things, and they had Batgirl there and everything. And in 10 minutes, he would come in and muck everything up so that it took 30 minutes to get that done. And
he was the Dr. Smith.
Yes, and I remember my brain going when I was watching that, and I said, "This is going to be the worst Batman I've ever seen." That's saying something. There's been some really bad Batman. That was the worst one.
You know, I'm kind of the same way about when I think about movies and stuff. If I'm entertained, whatever. If I'm not entertained, then that's how I know I don't like it, right? So it's super simple. It's the simplest thing. And I don't like to break apart a movie. Like, I'm not gonna tear it apart. You know, tons of people were involved in that movie. They put their heart and soul into it, and if everybody's gonna, tear it apart,
I want to talk a little bit about Green Lantern though, because they've cast a Guy Gardner for the HBO stuff, and that tells me. And if you know the Guy Gardner character, my brother is a huge Hal Jordan fan. He just thinks that Hal Jordan is the one and only Green Lantern. But I am much more. I like the difference. I even like Norm, I think his name was, or Nort, the guy that had a great big ring that fit on there, and he was as dumb as a rock. But it was a fun thing in the Justice League that they did. They had all these various Green Lanterns. And so I don't care, again, if they're going to make a movie after the HBO series goes, fine with me. I'll take, as long as it's a good story and things are told well, I am fine. I mean, they cast a guy for Guy Gardner, and everybody was trying to say, oh, he's good or he's bad. I said, well, let's wait till we see him on the screen. Then we'll know if he's good or bad.
Yeah. Hey, welcome. How's it going? We have the Bat Pod in the house. We have a awesome guy in this house. Will you so who is your Green Lantern? Who's your Green Lantern?
I don't have one, but particularly, if I had to pick one, I'd probably go with Hal Jordan. But I like a lot of them. I mean, I could sit here and name a whole bunch of Green Lanterns, just like the Legion. You've got all these different characters to pick from. Ultra Boy is my favorite Legionnaire. But when it comes to Green Lantern, I probably would pick Hal Jordan. But I even liked Guy Gardner, even though he was Warrior for a while. I'm perfectly fine with different ones. So
I would love to see if they could bring a Jessica Cruz in or a Jaden. I think that'd be cool.
That'd be cool. All right, so let's move on to one of our last ones here. I got a couple of them here, but I want to talk a little bit about. There was a big one that I thought, and it was really, really interesting, and I wanted to talk to both you, Wayne, and Jerry about this. Did you guys hear about the news about Alan Moore? He signs a 6-figure deal for a groundbreaking fantasy series. Did you guys hear about this? And a series of short stories as well.
Alan Moore is like a lot of the British writers. When they're good, they're great, and when they're bad, they're horrid. And I have read some really horrid stuff by Alan Moore, but I've read some absolutely amazingly wonderful, fantastic stuff by him. So I am cautiously optimistic. He will do some wonderful stuff. I mean, the last Superman story that he ever did, the one that had George Perez inking Kurt Swan on it, that was a fantastic story. I mean, holy smoke, the stuff he did. Mixyzptlk was, you think a dimensional dwarf with magical power sits around with a derby on? And I remember being shocked when I read that his uptake on that. So I'm optimistic. I hope it's good. But like I said, I've read some pretty horrid stuff by him, and I won't say where, but
I think he's gonna be one of those guys too. For me, when he's on, he's on. He's off for me.
Yeah,
it's.
Has he done other prose fiction before?
So he has. Okay. He's done those things, but it's kind of hard to find them. Sometimes they invariably get turned into TV shows or something, and they never quite live up to what the comic was. And so, I mean, he's done like the Watchmen. I thought was just incredible story, and V for Vendetta, which I preferred it in black and white, but it was just an amazing story. And some of the movies actually weren't terribly bad about it too. And I have to say, he had nothing to do with it, but maybe that's a good thing. There was that Watchmen series on HBO.
I like that.
It was stunning. I was just, I expected the worst.
So many people said that they hated it, but it was actually really good. I enjoyed it a lot.
That was the shocks that came along the way shocked me at the right time.
Yeah.
So I won't spoil anything. Believe me, there is just some. If you haven't seen it, watch the whole thing. It's only like 10 episodes, or for heaven's sakes.
Hey, okay, Jerry.
Yes.
So, do you feel like because Alan Moore, he recently said he's not ever going back to comics, right? He said he left comic book world, and now they're throwing six figures at him, man. And what do you think he's thinking right now?
Well, I think he's probably thinking that, is this some kind of a pipeline to some, movies or something like that? Is there some kind of other stuff going on where he's going to get optioned for movies so that he'd kind of skip over the comics part and just go straight to the screen? Might be easier for him.
Yeah. And when they use the word groundbreaking fantasy series, what think you guys think that means?
When it comes to Alan Moore, who knows? I mean, it could be.
I don't know, because some people have often told me, as long as when you read his stuff, it makes perfect sense. But I don't do that, so I guess that's why not all of it's made sense to me.
That's probably why I was doing it wrong. Was because I wasn't there yet.
So Ambrosia, what do you feel about this news?
I don't know, because I think you guys have summed it up so well that it's when he's on, when he's off, he's off. And so to come with this, the term groundbreaking is very, you're expecting a lot. So I fear that they're going to put expectations up really, really high, and I'm worried that we might be let down. So I think I'm going to go in with no expectations, because I feel like I'm best at. I go in with no expectations in general.
I understand that much.
Just take it as it comes.
I do, and I think that's why I'm so. I hate to say this. I'm so easy to please sometimes, because I go in with no expectations, and so. It's a bad quality sometimes.
No, I don't think so.
All right, I got one last thing here that I want to talk about, and well, I have a couple of them, but I'm like, should I toss this one in? But
do it.
I know this one's Jerry's favorite right here.
But let's go.
Batman Fortnite.
Oh. Yes, let's talk about
it. I closed that link.
Have you read them?
I've not. I didn't even know that this was a thing until I listen. I went into the woods and there was nothing happening.
Literally, you went into.
And there was all kinds of stuff happening. Like my phone started going off, all kinds of crazy stuff. I said, "What the heck is Alan Moore thinking?" And what the heck is Fortnite, Batman Fortnite? So I have no idea what this heck this is. All I'm seeing is my buddies doing a freaking review on it. I'm like, dude, what is Batman Fortnite?
Yeah, and the funny thing is that some of my fellow comic readers, they were like, make sure you get a copy because it's gonna be a big one. And I didn't buy a copy. I read it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you got to know both things, and this is a problem for me because I'm not a gamer.
Yeah,
I don't have time to game. I'm too busy doing stuff, and so for me, I mean, because I buy everything Batman, the lady at the store pulled one for me, and so I have the first issue. Number 2 is supposed to be out today. She didn't get them, and I was like, "You had better get me one." Even though I read the first one, because I don't understand Fortnite, I didn't quite get the story, but I've got one. Good for me.
Well, and so I'm also not into the game realm of things. My husband is he's the gamer, so I will ask him things. But from my understanding, because I read issue 1, and also from the help of my students who are 12, 13 years old, you don't need to know much about Fortnite in issue 1. But it's a bizarre thing. Batman has amnesia. And
he doesn't know who he is.
He doesn't know who he is, and he's in Fortnite world. But okay, my question is, he doesn't know who he is, but he
We
has like
got-
all
we
his
gotta say-
muscle memories.
We gotta say spoilers first, guys, for all those people who really love this series right now. Jerry.
I know. I'm
Spoilers.
so sorry.
No, go ahead. All right, finish. Everybody, spoilers.
I'm sorry. This is spoilers. Ugh. And Wayne, I was just talking to you about how I don't do spoilers, and here I am. I do them like unconsciously. I just go on rants.
Can't help
My
it.
bad. This
That's
is
all
how
right.
your friend stopped getting invited to stuff. Am I gonna stop
That's right.
getting invited?
No.
Nah.
Okay. But it's just bizarre. But I think like the buy-in too is that like my students were excited that you got the Fortnite skins. So every comic has like a code that you could get a Fortnite skin that you only could get if you had the comic.
That
Which
was
is
what
actually kinda cool.
the lady at the store said. That's what everybody wants is the skin. And I said, "What?" I dumbly asked her, "What's a skin?"
Yeah.
She said, "You don't want the book?" I said, "No, I want the book, but what's a skin? I don't know what that is." So it was, I realized people were going to want it, and as such, I got it. But I'm going to have to do some more research on that.
Yeah.
All right, Jerry, what are your thoughts?
I think that they should, instead of Fortnite skins, they could put non-fungible tokens, of the comic, right? So you could come up with the comic.
Yeah.
That would have been good.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. I mean, I just don't understand Fortnite anyway. I got it to play with my 10-year-old son, and he doesn't really like it too much either. I mean, he'll play it. It's a freaking video game. You put him in front of a video game, he ain't gonna say no. But the thing is, I don't understand it. You're just running through the world and just stealing and fighting people. I don't whatever.
And I feel like that's very similar to this comic so far.
It sounds like you're
stealing and fighting and running around.
That's exactly that's what we have. That's issue 1.
Your average video game to me. I don't like that.
Which, however, they added a twist. We have Harley Quinn, who is stuck in Fortnite world too. So that's
all right.
Fun. All right, well, that is all I have for the news here. There's a couple other things there that I wanted to talk about, but I think it's more of like I'm excited about it because I'm a big, huge Doctor Who fan, and we got and I'll just drop it. Whatever. We have some news that we have the 9th Doctor returning as the Doctor. Maybe not, but only in audio form. So if you like audio drama. You can hear the 9th Doctor return. That we got Ecclesiastes coming back and returning. Pretty awesome. I'm a freaking. That was what that was where his Doctor is what I was introduced to as a fan of Doctor Who. So I thought it was really exciting for me because he was the first Doctor for me. So.
I will be honest, and I don't know much of Doctor Who, but I got on TikTok someone commented because I was going through Star Wars comics, and they asked if I thought that Doctor Who could ever meet up with Star Wars people.
Oh,
and I didn't know how to respond because I don't know much about Doctor Who.
Now, Doctor Who is the anti-violent science fiction hero. Star Wars is pew 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 all the time. Right. I don't see that happening all the time. I just don't see them
Star Wars
joining it.
What? Okay, so if not Star Wars, what do you
Star
guys
Trek
crossover?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yes. That I could see.
I could see those worlds colliding more than Star Wars. Yeah. That's a good one.
There have been fan films that have had the Doctor's TARDIS appear on the bridge of the Enterprise. And they've been actually kind of interesting stories. So I'm kind of interested to see. Of course, how many millions would you have to pay each company to make that happen? I don't think in the real world that's ever going to happen, but it would be fun to watch. I mean, I'd be curious to see how they do it.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, Kyle says that there was a theory that he was a Jedi. Doctor Who.
Interesting.
That he was a Jedi.
Could be.
I wonder how that could work out. Interesting. How would you guys plan that out if you guys were writing something like that? If he was a Jedi,
I don't know.
How would you bring that? How would you
Star
make
Wars
it happen? that's just He just shows up on the bridge. There you go.
Actually, it wasn't him it wasn't the rebels that destroyed the Death Star. It was Doctor Who who zipped out on the TARDIS, right?
That could very well happen.
Yep. Opens the door wrong. He opens the door. Oh, nope.
Luke, you take the credit. It's fine.
Kyle, I know Kyle, and he's a wonderful writer. So I need him to make a fan theory of this happen, please.
Yes, please. All right, this is the time. It is time for Ambrosia to shine because this is Ambrosia's Pool List Breakdown.
Hi. Yes, here we go. Are you guys keeping up with like what's up in the newer comic realm?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Sorry, I don't know.
Not me.
So on my pull list, I have America Chavez. I really like her, and I'm glad that we are seeing her again because she's supposed to be in the Multiverse of Madness.
Okay.
So we are gonna get a live action of America Chavez, which I think will be awesome.
Whoa, that's cool.
We have a person of color in here, which I think is awesome. So I've been really enjoying that series. Have you guys been reading that one?
I have not
been reading that one.
Sorry, that's no haven't.
So tell me a little bit about America Chavez.
America Chavez. She is kind of an orphan. Her parents, who again, this is where some people love or hate it, but her parents are part of the LGBTQ community, and so is she. And so she has two moms, and they live in the utopian parallel. Her mom saved the world, and she was sent to Earth, and her family in Earth is raising her, but she has these amazing superpowers, and so she's trying to find the line of who she is. They're not a fan of her saving the world because she's a young woman and they don't want her to get hurt. But she knows that she's meant to do so much more in life, and she looks up to her parents. So it's finding this battle of who her family is while also having this these powers. And I think this is a good audience for younger readers or adolescents who are going through that awkward phase of trying to discover who they are, gender-wise, family-wise, friend-wise. So we're only on issue 3 on that, but I think it could be some powerful stuff.
Wow. Who prints this?
Sounds cool.
Marvel.
Marvel does, okay.
That does, and just from hearing about that does not even sound like a Marvel book.
No,
it doesn't.
I was gonna say Image.
I was gonna think it was an indie title.
Yeah, no, this is actually Marvel. I think they've been doing they've been branching out more, which is definitely not expected. I mean, we have a lot of fun appearances with Hawkeye in here, with Kate Bishop, who is her friend. But I'm curious to know how they're going to add her character in the movie. So we'll see. So it's been good. Amazing Spider-Man issue 65 came out. His new suit. Peter Parker has a new suit.
No.
What? Okay. Have you guys been keeping up on the new suit or heard about his new suit?
No, yes. I haven't seen it.
Yes, I have.
All right, Wayne, do you want to talk about his new suit and how he got it?
It was designed by a guy that used to work at DC and got drawn over to Marvel, and he started to do it. He created this suit, and it's very lately they've been making electronic spider suits. They look like they're electric, with lights and stuff going up and down it and stuff. And this one's very much like that. And I don't know. You see, the trick about this is change in comics is very temporary. He's going to get this costume, give it maybe 6 months, a year, maybe, and suddenly, because you demanded it, it's back the original spider suit. And so I don't. As long as I've been reading comics, I am literally going, okay. Another suit, and we'll see how long it lasts. So we ought to start a pool. How long is this suit going to last?
Well, I was going to say, you were really generous because you gave it 6 months to a year. I was not going to give it that long at all.
Yeah.
And it's because, like, in this issue or in this most recent Amazing Spider-Man run, the whole design of it was because there is Threats and Menace, which is a spin-off of the Daily Bugle. And Nora Winters bribed Peter Parker or bribed Spider-Man into wearing it so that subscribers could subscribe to watch Peter Parker. Like, the suit has like cameras and like microphones in it. So subscribers could see through the eyes of Spider-Man. And so Nora Winters was like, Peter or Spider-Man, I'll give you this money if you will let us see through the eyes of you. And so I don't know. I feel like Peter Parker was bribed to do it. He needed money. They were giving him money, so he did it. I don't think it's going to last long because I think he's going to find out it's going to be more trouble than it is worth it. So we'll see. But we have Kingpin in here. His Peter Parker's roommates right now are who is it? Boomerang and Randy Robertson. And we also find out that Randy is dating the Beetle, who is her father is Tombstone, which that's not going to fly. And then we have Madame Mask in here and Crime Master, and it's a lot going on, especially if you're following up with any of the other issues with Kindred. Sorry. So it's a lot going on.
Sounds like it.
It really is. It's all over the place, I feel.
So how long do you think it's going to be there?
His new suit?
Mm-hmm.
I give it 5 more issues.
5 more issues. Okay. Well, I was only one farther.
Wow.
Did you say 6?
I said 6 to 12. I see. I have real troubles because, when Dick Grayson was Batman for a while, it lasted about a year. And they dragged Batman through time to get him back to the current time so he'd be Batman again. I mean, the moment they made Dick Grayson Batman, I said he's not going to be there long.
Yeah.
And I have the same thing with the spider suit. It's there, but
how long did they give the Bat Bunny? Right, maybe a couple months
at least. It's just going to be a little while. And I see. To me, there's a reason why characters are classic. And with the moment and I think Marvel should have learned this when they recently had a female Thor and they did all this other stuff. The sales plummeted, and as much as I'd like to see, they already have a female Thor called Sif. Why don't they give Sif her own comic? I don't understand why we had to put Jane, the girlfriend in. I didn't like that. But to me, I would.
Did.
She got cancer and that whole business.
So that's why I'm really excited for Love and Thunder because we're gonna see. I'm pretty sure we're gonna see her as Thor. I don't know. I liked it, but
we'll see. We'll see how they do it. See, it's all going to depend on the execution.
Yeah.
How it's done is going to make a big difference to me, and so I think that the spider suit. I think you're right. By a year from now, we'll be going, what spider suit? Because it'll be gone. But it's something that they do. They give a new artist a chance to create a spider suit in the hopes that maybe it will catch on, and maybe it'll come around for a while. But my experience as a long-term comics reader is
They can sell some new toys, right? You've got to get the costume
and get press.
Yeah, right, right. Get a couple of stories.
We're talking about it, right?
They need more of the Funko variants. That's why.
That's right.
Oh,
that's why they need.
It's a Funko play.
Oh, yeah. That's such a hard, dark rabbit hole to go down. Like you will go it's a rabbit hole that you will probably be you will make a home out of after you have a collection. So
the same guy that spoils everything, he and his wife collect Funko Pops, You go into their house, it is a museum of pops. Every wall covered with pops.
Hey, I understand, man. I mean, I'm sitting in my comic book mess over here. I need to
organize. Literally sold like 50%, well, about 70% of our Funko Pops to our local comic book store.
Wow.
And so currently, because that's like one of their top sellers. So they're always like asking to bring them in. So I currently have
a problem, it's called.
Yes, but here's the thing. Yes, I mean, there's a reason why we're on the show. But what's worse is that now I have like money at the store. So instead of them just giving me cash, I just use it as store credit. And that's the worst because now I have, in my mind, I have unlimited money on comic books. And I'm like, I'll take this one.
You're getting high on your own supply.
I used to work at I used to help a comic guy, of course, store guy, pass out his stuff. Then I helped him at cons, and what he did was he gave me credit instead of paying me. And many weeks I barely could cover the comics I was buying with the credit, and so I was like, I'm not making out on this deal somehow. So I stopped doing that. But it's so funny when I hear credit, I immediately go, oh no, not credit. Oh no.
Yeah. So we are getting real close on our time here. So if you want to talk about one or two more, Ambrosia.
Yes. Let's dive into since this is an issue 1, what about Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters? This is like a kickoff to their Bounty Hunter series this summer. It's like the first one that Marvel is going to, like the first Marvel Star Wars like big event.
Okay.
Who wrote it? Gina?
Charles Soule.
Good writer.
Yeah.
He's been doing a lot for Marvel Comics right now. So I am so excited. Issue 1 is have you guys been reading any of the Bounty Hunters or any of the Star Wars Marvel?
No.
Some occasionally I'll pick one up.
I think I have a couple of them in here somewhere.
They are so, I've loved them. This series is it's the prelude, so it's like their issue 0. But it features like Boba Fett, and it's Boba Fett versus Han Solo versus the Empire. It's big and exciting, and I really enjoy Charles Soule. He just came out with the Star Wars book. He's been doing awesome stuff. So.
I have to ask you something, because I have some friends of mine who will not read a comic based on a movie or a TV show. It's a movie or a TV show, so that's where it stays. It should not be a comic. And so they literally will not pick up a comic and read, even if it's a great comic and people tell them how wonderful it is. That's not what it was. There was the guy that did Babylon 5 did a comic. And we were doing a panel on discussion on Babylon 5, and the lady stood up and said, I am not buying a comic on this. They're not going to make me buy a comic. And I've always wondered, is that something I've run into several times, and I just have to ask, do other people run into people saying that, or is that kind of am I the one that's drawing these people?
I can see it, but I also have the all the Gold Key Dark Shadows, so yeah.
With all the comic books that are getting slated for TV shows and movies right now, like that person is going to end up not reading any comic books ever. Like they need to change their way of thinking.
Everything is getting.
Maybe if there was a Fortnite tie-in.
Star Wars Fortnite.
And just like that, we are ready for our comic shop talk, and our guest Wayne has brought that to us, and we're going to close out the show there. We might run over just a little bit, but that is fine.
Okay, I thought this week, because I'm aware of something that's going on in the shops that's really fascinating to me, and that's the Bad Idea line of comics. The company came along, and Matt Kind, who is well known for writing a lot of comics, and he's written for many companies, has been writing some of the in ENIAC, I think, is the first one, which is about a computer that basically takes over the world, and how this group of humans is trying to stop that computer. It's really well done. But the thing that's made Bad Idea a bad idea for some stores is the fact that you have to order the same amount for the subsequent issues that you do for number 1. So if you order 10,000 of number 1, you got to order 10,000 of number 2. And not many stores wanted to do that. So there are several stores. There's one in the Central Florida area that I found who does it, and I told them anything they make, I want it. Just send it to me if you have to. And so they're sending them to me. I read ENIAC, and I've read the what's the second one? No,
Wellsville Rocks and Minerals.
Yeah,
no,
that
there's a no.
That
The Robert Venditti one was last week or two.
I think I have that one. Hold on.
Hawkers or Hunkers or something.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I've not even heard any of these.
Tankers.
Where can you find these at?
There's a store in Central Florida called Comic Central, and when the pandemic was hitting, that's
Tinkers.
the one. Tinkers, that's the name of it. And there's a store in Sanford, Florida called Comic Central, and they were still selling DC Comics when every other store was shut down because the county where they are let them do it. And so I drove there every week to get DC Comics because I wanted to read some comics. And I kept in with them, and I noticed they were getting the Bad Idea one. So I told them, any Bad Idea comic, send it to me. I'll pay for it. I'll use my credit card and do it. But the interesting thing is that a lot of these comics are going on eBay for thousands of dollars, literally.
Wow.
The first one, they did like a prequel one that's going for at least $1,200 to $1,500 on eBay and stuff. And I'm just sort of curious because a lot of the stores are kind of going, well, we can't get into that. But the ones who have are really, they're making big money. Thousands of dollars on these books.
Everybody do a quick lookup of what yours is worth.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an experiment, and I'm fascinated that it's actually seeming to work on some levels. Although they have, if somebody doesn't follow their rules exactly, they will kick that store off of their list.
Oh, wow.
Yep, and they have too.
Wow.
And
they want you got to
one of the
rationales
rules. They were trying to stop the aftermarket sale of them, but the scarcity of it caused it to go crazy and become so wildly expensive.
So if you've got a Bad Idea book, get it CGC graded. That's what I recommend.
Super interesting. That is an interesting thing and concept. And I love the many different ideas that actually came out of the pandemic. You had so many smart companies doing smart things, and you saw a whole lot of the market shift over to creator owned and crowdfunded books throughout the pandemic while everything was shut down. And even some publishers never even shut down and never even cut ties with Diamond and things like this, like Scout kept going. They never even stumbled. And I think it was because they set themselves up so well, and they continue to make great decisions. And I think they're doing very well, and they're going to continue to do well, and they're going to be pretty huge, if they're not already huge. So there's tons of publishers out there that are stepping outside of the box.
Well, that's the thing. The people who take chances, I think, are to be rewarded at this point. We need to see the industry. I mean, we don't know what the industry is going to be when it grows up.
Yeah.
And so with Bad Idea, I think I like when people take chances and try experiments and things like that. I think Bad Idea was a great way to try something. Great idea, actually. Well, if you have a comic, it's a great idea. So I know go ahead.
Vault, I know Vault Comics, they put out a whole load of their first issues for free.
Yeah.
So you can go, and like a lot of them, and they're top books, not just, their B-list of books, so they're greatest books.
Yeah.
And you just check them out.
We need to take chances now.
TKO even did that over the pandemic, throughout the pandemic and stuff like that. And you can go and read the first issues and all that good stuff, and it was pretty cool. And a lot of the TKO books, they're prestigious, gorgeous looking books, right? And when you read them, they're even more amazing. So there's some great companies out there.
I will be completely honest and say, like, pre-pandemic and pre-COVID, I was only reading like the big two. Like, I would only read DC and Marvel, not because I was uninterested, just because I didn't know where to start with the smaller publishers. And then I got connected with a group who gave me unlimited previews. I got all of the issues early of everything. And so that really broke my shell into, like, reading more, and now I am mind blown of how long it took me to be reading some of these, because some of these like my favorite comic books now aren't Marvel or DC.
Yeah.
And there's so many amazing ideas that I feel like so many people are missing out on.
My podcast is indie. The whole podcast. It's all
I
indie.
belong to a group of reviewers, and the person in charge sends out a zip file or compressed file of like a lot of the new comics, not DC or Marvel. And a zip file comes like every Saturday. And you talk about what I was doing last weekend. Every Saturday, I'm carefully downloading that zip file to make sure I can look in there. I mean, that's how I discovered Once and Future.
Oh yeah,
I started read them on there, and a whole bunch of books I started to check out because I could download the zip file, and they do have watermarks on them, so you can't. They're not, but I don't care. I want to just read the story.
You want to read the story,
right? And then I go out and I go buy them.
Yeah, that's right. I bought the two trade. I bought the 2 trade paperbacks of Once and Future. Because of that.
And that's been the biggest thing. You know, being a podcaster, we do get compensated some books sometimes here and there, and they do give us preview press copies to read prior to review over our show, and sometimes they do come with rules and stuff. So we do love this, but we're not in this to get free stuff. We're in this because we love this stuff. We have a passion, and that's just an amazing thing. Because if I don't know if you guys do the same thing, but when I read something digitally, I have to have it physical to like sitting behind me, like one that I never open up, but I read my digital copies of the book that I'm holding. So
I thought I was the only one that did that.
No.
And sometimes I buy double copies of my hard copies.
Yeah, I've done that.
And I have the digital. I'll sometimes only buy the whole trade if I can, like digitally.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
No, and that's what's been fun about trying to, like, my whole goal with like TikTok was trying to bring the younger generation who, thought that the comic books were created because of the Endgame movie into it. So like I hit with like the DC and Marvel because that's what will catch them. But then I'm like, hey, also, have you heard of Stray Dogs? Hey,
yeah.
So we're getting there.
There's a lot of wonderful stuff out there, I have to say right now. This is one of the, I think it'll be looked back upon as a golden era.
I agree.
Amazing stories out there.
Yeah.
I always like to say that Kickstarter, I wish Kickstarter had been around a lot sooner, because there are a lot of stories that never got told because Kickstarter wasn't there to help them get funded.
Right.
So
I wish it is now. So, and we have people who have those stories sitting on their shelf, and now they're digging them out and putting them out there on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Right. And I've actually recently spoken to a handful of creators on my podcast called the House of Indie, and I do a little mini series where I focus and spotlight the Kickstarter campaigns and its creators, and there's some gems on there, guys. There's some gems, and if you don't jump on a Kickstarter, you can sometimes catch it when they go to a publisher, but it's not going to be the same things. They'll take things out, they'll change it, and they'll move it around for some things. But
there's a really interesting trend going on right now with Kickstarter people. When they get done with the Kickstarter, they're going over to Indiegogo. As soon as the Kickstarter is done, they go to Indiegogo and sell something very similar, if not the same thing. Yeah. So if you don't get the Kickstarter, you can go to Indiegogo and do it as well. I'm happy to see that.
If they go from Kickstarter to Indiegogo or vice versa, they sometimes only have exclusive things for either Kickstarter or Indiegogo. So you if you wanted something that was amazing, or if you gave them because they always come up with different ideas. They're like, oh, I'm gonna do this over here. So always keep an eye, even if you have there's some books that I kickstarted that are on Indiegogo and they have some really cool stuff. I'm just like, oh, should I? How can I explain to my wife that I'm buying this? She's like, don't you have that one already? So
you don't get it.
Yeah,
not exactly this book. It isn't exactly the one I have.
It's not exactly the same thing.
Same, but different.
All right, guys. I thank you guys for hanging out with me right here on Wednesday Warriors, brought to you by the Geek Collective, with myself and Ambrosia. This is the time where I wanted you guys to kind of, throw your plugs out there for your show. So since this was your last segment, Wayne, will you please have the floor and drop some plugs there for your shows?
A lot of my stuff is done on majorspoilers.com. The Wayne's Comics podcast is released every Sunday morning. And if you go to majorspoilers.com on a Sunday morning, you'll likely see that it's one of the things that's out there. There's other things that come out on Sunday, but that's when that podcast comes. I'm up to episode 484, I think, and I'm going to hit 500 in the next few months. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do for that, but it's coming.
Wow.
There's on the other hand, there's what I call Scout Trailblazers, and that one we just got 25 out, so I've been doing that one. All my podcasts tend to be audio only, and so I'm always happy to do some video stuff. I did some video recordings of reviews of books for about a year, and if you go to YouTube and look under Wayne Hall, you'll see those up there. There's about 10 or 20 of them up there, which I really enjoy. And I also, at Major Spoilers, write a weekly column called Comics Portal about the comics industry. And this past Monday, I talked about Barry Windsor Smith's Monsters, which took 2 decades, he said, to make. So I was asking, was it worth the wait? So I like to explore issues with the industry there. There's other things I do, but nobody cares. So we'll leave it to that.
You also dabble a little bit with some Scout stuff, right?
Yeah, I help out with Scout as far as like assembling comics for printing, and I edit, I review books, and I sit there and I say, no, a comma doesn't go there. There's a difference between let's eat, comma, grandpa, and let's eat, grandpa. And so I always have to tell people, nope, the comma doesn't work there. So I do those kinds of things as well. So gosh, I honestly, every once in a while I sleep, then I get back up and get right back to work. So it's a lot to do.
There you go. All right, Jerry, where can everybody find you and your show?
Yeah, you can find the Professor Frenzy Show. You can find me on Twitter at Professor Frenzy. Do an iTunes search for the Professor Frenzy Show. The podcast will turn up. It's a weekly show. We do indie comics. So a lot of the stuff that we were talking about tonight. You can find me on Twitter at Professor Frenzy. There's a Professor Frenzy show page on Facebook, youtube.com/Professor Frenzy, all one word. And my pod partner, Chris, you can get him at BTO and Bat Books. So check us out.
Yeah. And I don't know if anybody knows out there who's listening or watching, back when I was just a little wee podcaster, just kind of dipped my toe into it. There was a handful of shows that I listened to that kind of inspired me to kind of do this thing. And the Professor Frenzy Show was one of those. So
thank you.
I tip my hat to you and Chris. You guys are always super professional, and you guys definitely set a high bar that I could never even reach. So
Chris is waving. Chris is waving out there right now.
Yes,
He's awesome.
Chris is amazing. Chris, we love it. You're awesome, dude. All right, Ambrosia, will you please let everybody know where they can find you?
I'm the baby who is just dipping their toe into the water. So I'm only on episode 4 of my podcast, but I am a comic book history lessons through the Geek Collective. And my Instagram and Twitter is Ambrosia_Linda. And then I'm on TikTok at Comics and Cupcakes.
And she doesn't only just do all that stuff. I mean, she is I'm calling her this. She's a TikTok influencer, guys.
I know you said that. I was like, what? No.
Yes.
Me?
You are because I've watched you from the very beginning of my TikTok life, and you've done some amazing things, and people actually interact with you, and your following is growing pretty large there. So
we're getting there.
I would say that's making it. So yeah, I've only got like 10 friends. So it's all of them are family members. So
I was gonna say, how'd you get that many? Yeah.
I'm Mexican and I've got a lot of family members, and half of them aren't. They're like, what's TikTok? So I mean, sorry guys.
I was like, if you're Mexican and if you have a lot of family members, if 10 is a lot, we have to have a talk.
Nope. Half of them are just like, what the heck's wrong with you, dude? That's weird.
Yeah. Just give me your phone. Let me sign up.
Talking about comic books online. That's weird, you geek. All right, and you can always find me. You guys can find me everywhere. You guys don't need to know where I am, right?
We do.
No. You guys can find me at the House of Indie, where I talk to comic book creators and we deep dive into their creative process. And that is, I've been taking a small little hiatus and dropping them here and there, but they will be on a regular basis every week. I will also do a little mini series here and there, fun stuff with that. I also do a podcast with my buddy John P. He is the Scoutmaster P. It is called Two Scout Geeks. So we talk about Scout comics. Obviously, we love Scout comics. As if you guys didn't know, we're huge fans and we are obsessed with the comic book publisher. So we talk about it on our show, and we interview creators from Scout when we talk about their books. And you can find me here on the Wednesday Warriors Live every week, coming at you guys from the Geek Collective. We thank you guys for hanging out with us, and again, remember, if you guys do want to check out Scout Comics, head over to scoutcomics.com. At checkout, use the code GEEK, that's GEEK, and you will get 10% off at checkout. Just not today, because they even have a better deal because it's 50% off. Go grab them. In the notes, tell them Joey sent you. That'd be cool. Why not? Maybe I'll send you something free. Let me know. All right, guys. Thank you, guys. This was freaking awesome. Hey, thanks for hanging out. I think only 3 of my family members are watching right now.
That's more than mine.
I know. It's probably all 3 of your moms. That's probably what
Yeah.
Right?
I was like, my mom's upstairs watching, but I don't want to say that.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
I don't have an outro video because whatever. I'll have one soon. We'll see you guys next time. The stream is going to end right